Hello and welcome back. Hope everyone's doing well. Today I have with me a special guest, my motivational coach, Mr. Judgmental Gargoyle. And how are you today, sir?
Shut up, filthy human! Slave away for my enjoyment!
I've always considered myself my own worst critic, but I guess he's probably a little bit worse. Anyway, let's go. Today I figured I'd go ahead and break out this safety squat bar I had bumped up against the wall near the leg sled. It's not that bad, pretty comfortable, only it's heavy as hell at about 70 pounds. I had to factor that in when I was loading up the bar.
No more sniveling like a little bitch! More suffering!
Yes, sir. At any rate, at the end of this squat session, I go ahead and try and max out. I attempt 300, but it doesn't go so well, as you'll see. 250 went up pretty easy, but for whatever reason, my vast knowledge, I thought I'd just slap on another 50 pounds, thought that it would just go right up, and it didn't.
Because you're stupid!
Can't blame a guy for trying, though, I guess.
Oh, but I can! Sweat for me, pig, sweat!
Although this bar is a lot heavier than a normal barbell, it is nice. It's got the handles in the front, which kind of saves your shoulders. The padding doesn't hurt either, but I'm just not used to padding.
Quit pretending to be a tough guy! You make me want to vomit!
Okay. Neck padding was nice, especially for the 300-pound attempt. I will say in editing, the next day, my legs were pretty sore, just about as sore as when I started out like 2 months ago. So maybe I'm going to have to start adding the heavy 1-rep max every so often.
There is no maybe, you greasy weasel! You will!
And so, I guess I will.
Less talking, more lifting!
I've said it before, but I guess it bears mentioning again. I'm not specifically working out for strength, but it doesn't hurt to get a good baseline. A nice and easy rule of thumb is whatever your 1-rep max is for, like, say, bench or squat or whatever, cut that down to 1/2 or 3/4 of that weight, and you should be able to do that for 12 to 15 reps. So it just gives you an idea.
Did you do that on purpose? I'm going to puke!
Sorry about that. When I get in the zone, I lose all situational awareness.
Your facial expression appears as though you're trying to poop. This amuses me. Continue. There once was this girl from Nantucket who...
No. Say something motivational.
Oh, failures are lessons in progress.
Was not expecting that. Have a good one, y'all.